A $20 bill, his life wasn't worth a $20 bill. I think that's something that's really insane that we have to do better about, especially when you can tell me you can take a mass shooter alive, but a person who is suspected of forging a $20 bill is dangerous.
It seems the racial issue is combined with the pressure of the whole society under the quarantine, and combine them together, it burst out like a volcano. From the news and information I've gathered, not all the protesters are like you, and they do it in a more violent and more, how can I put it?
More extreme methods.
More violent way. Yeah, they burn down the streets and the stores. They even do a lot of thefts.
One thing I want the Taiwanese audience to understand is that when we're out there protesting, it's not just black people, it's people of all different races, right? And I'm not throwing any blame on them, because there's people that have done wrong in terms of throwing rocks, setting fires, that are all different colors. But from what I've experienced in the past 2 nights that I've been out protesting, a lot of the people that have been instigating the violence that I've seen, now this is just what I've seen, some of them have been black, some of them have been Mexican, a lot of them have been white. There was one person yesterday who I had to pull to the side because he threw rocks at the officer after I just said that we were not going to have any violence. I said to them that we have bad apples back here that are throwing rocks, that want to set fire, that want to incite violence. I don't want them to do that because your life is valuable. And I said to them as well that because your life is valuable, I'm going to pluck these bad apples from the vine. If I see them doing anything wrong, I'm going to correct them and tell them that that's wrong. I need you officers to do the same when you go back to your police departments. Tell them that it's wrong to treat any person, no matter the color of their skin. There was another individual, an older white gentleman, who was sitting there calling the cops all sorts of names, calling them Nazis, calling them all sorts of things. And I told him to his face, I said, that's not right. If you're gonna protest with us, you need to protest with us the correct way, because we're not here to incite violence.
Exactly. But that's the protest you had in your city, right?
Yes,
in
sir.
LA?
Yes.
It's always really civilized place and very casual and relaxing. But it seems like a lot of violence is going on in some other in your country. Not every protest in each country, in each city, is done as you just described.
So there's twofold, right? There's two significant things I want to say about the violence that's breaking out. One, like I said, it's not just black people that are inciting the violence. It is, I'm not gonna say primarily people of other races, but it is a mix. I would say it's like maybe 20% maybe black people, and then maybe the rest is something whatever. But the problem is that no matter who you are, it needs to stop. And there are also what we would call, I guess, white supremacist agents among the crowd that take it upon themselves to throw rocks because they want that on the news. They want it to seem like, we're just a bunch of ignorant, violent people. But that's not particularly the case. There are people that will just come up to the march just to incite violence and hope that they get beat up so they have a story to tell and say, look at all these violent people out here that was supposed to be a peaceful protest. I will tell you for a fact that every protest that I've gone to, it has started peacefully. It has never been a person that has started with, I'm gonna attack an officer, I'm gonna do something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, when nighttime comes around, people do get brave and they do things that's unwise. But you gotta think about who's out there. There's young people, there's people that are hurt, there's people that, are emotionally distraught and traumatized over this incident. And I'm not sure I know how to tell somebody what is the proper way to respond to trauma. I'm not sure that I know how to tell somebody properly, how do you adjust to hurt? And that's the thing about this, is that people are gonna experience that trauma in many different ways, but it's important that we keep violence out of that. Yesterday we held the candlelight vigil for our brother George Floyd. And during that candlelight vigil, we made sure to say there will be no violence tonight. There will be none. We will have none of it. Now, in terms of other cities, I know some cities that have shown no violence at all because the police, instead of choosing to stand against us have chosen to march with us, and it became a parade. There's been a number of different incidents where they've chosen to pray with us, you know, and once you do that, you understand that it's about empathy. It's about them understanding that this is wrong. What happened to a man was wrong. There's no reason that any individual should be in the middle of the street and watch his life drain away for 9 excruciating minutes.
Of course, not. That is the tragedy should not be happening. So, but Chris, the other thing you just said interests me a lot because, as we know, the police force is probably one of the biggest employers throughout the United States. But you also mentioned that some of the police departments, they decided even join the parade instead of the protest, instead of fight against the crowd or the people. But other cities department, they don't. So, for example, I'm not sure, but can we use Richmond as one of the examples that people and the police department might have a very how can I put it, tight and touching relationship towards each other, while at the same time the example you have brought up in as I can recall, it's the sheriff who walked among the people happened in Michigan.
One's here, you got dogs, so what's up? So listen, I'm just telling you, these cops love you. That cop over there hugs people, so you tell us what you need to do.
Walk with us! 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 Walk with us!
Let's walk with us! Let's walk!
As I know, the sheriff is elected by among the people. So they are the way and the manner they execute and enforce the law and order are really different from the LAPD. So I think it's what's the difference? Why is it so different from one town to another?
Okay, so in the case of Flint, I think with him, he had a smaller crowd, and that's in LA. You have millions of people, probably thousands of people marching. Who knows? And you know, it is important that we make sure that property isn't damaged. I completely understand that. So for you to stand against, you know, a building and say, hey, we just want to make sure this is not getting damaged, feel free to protest. That's one thing. Maybe he can't join in with the protest. But the people that when they're done and they get out of uniform, they can come protest. So I think it really with that, it just boils down to the location. In my hometown of Philadelphia, there's, you know, riots going on. But even with the riots, I think the problem is that we have so many people that want to be critical of the issue and say, look at these riots, look at all this bad thing, blah, 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 blah. But the issue is that a man lost his life. And if you are that upset about the riots, then what you need to do is come down to the protest, and if you need to be the person to say, hey, stop, cut that out, that's not right. Because I was doing that. I need more people to do that. I need everybody to do that. Because if we all do that, then we can say that we had a peaceful protest and we did absolutely everything we could to stop the violence and protest peacefully.
The sheriff who paraded with the crowd is Chris Swanson in Genesee County, Michigan. So he's he's definitely the people's sheriff because it's really, you know, sporty and do the marathon and that kind of stuff. He also published 2 books. So he's more like how can I put it, the more quality police force in the whole force of the United States. But at the same time, we might also have some other police officers driven by the lives. They need to earn more money.
I understand they have a job to do. I understand that, you know, they want to feed their kids too. I'm not against that. I understand that sometimes they have to be on the opposite side of that line because that's when duty calls. Trust me, I've been there. I've been through 3 combat zones, you know what I mean? I've been in war. You know, places I didn't want to be, but I understood that sometimes, even if you don't want to be somewhere, your principles may lie someplace else. And I made sure I stood up for my principles and did nothing to impede the liberties of someone else.
You literally worked for the biggest game in the whole on this planet. I don't know.
I guess you could say that. But I want to give you some context too about this whole situation, okay? I've been in Afghanistan. I've been in Syria in terms of war, combat zones. I've been in another combat zone, right? I've seen people shot right in front of me. I've seen people blown up. I've seen a number of different violent things happen right in front of me, and I can't say that I was necessarily traumatized by those actions. But when I saw George Floyd get his life taken from him over 9 excruciating minutes, I could not sleep. I continue to be upset about this. Because all I can think about, if that was my child on the ground, I would hope somebody would step in for him. I would hope somebody would say that this is wrong. This is not what needs to happen. Think about that. I've been through combat, and I've never been more traumatized than watching that video right there.
We all understand and aware the police force will do when they are doing their jobs. Is it possible for us as bystanders to stop or intervene while the officers are doing their jobs?
I think the thing of it is that man sat there and begged and said, I cannot breathe at all. He didn't resist arrest. He didn't resist anything. He didn't resist at all. He complied with everything the officer said. And for him to say, I can't breathe, and then cry out for his mother. A grown man cried out for his mother that was long dead.
I heard that line several times because I reviewed the video 3 to 4 times. So it's really a tragedy. Shouldn't be happening. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
No. But if we win back, is it possible for us as bystanders to do anything to stop the tragedy happening again if we were on the site?
I think for me, I don't need an authority figure to tell me what's wrong and what's right. You know, I could look at that situation and tell that it was wrong. And if that was me standing there, at the risk of my life, I would step in for the brother, because it's that important. It's important that I don't see another life snuffed out in front of me and say I did nothing to do anything about it. You know what I mean? That's just for me.
Jesus, that's... Chris, I don't know. I totally feel you. I feel your sadness and fury. But from my... I have little experience with officers in the States. But I don't think that's a good idea. I totally feel you. That's why I asked the question, because it's to be and not to be questioned, you know.
喜欢我们的频道吗？按赞、订阅、分享，小铃铛开起来哟！哦。